Hi there.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
doing good. You look fabulous.
You do too. You look amazing.
Thank you. Still trying to figure out my hairstyle. I decided, Lauren, I'm cutting it all off. My
I
husband's
love it.
not happy with me at all. But I need to be.
Why they don't like short hair? Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I just don't have the desire. I want to look my best at all times, of course, but I just don't have the desire nor the energy to focus on doing my hair. And let me do my makeup and let me just go like this with my hair and go voila.
It looks wonderful. You
Oh,
wear it very, very well.
oh, thank you. How's everything been with you?
Good. Yeah, everything's been good. Yeah, we had a nice weekend. Are you all settled in from your move?
We're going to be a while before we get settled in, but we have spent 3 weeks moving and unpacking. So I can honestly say the unpacking part has pretty much been completed, but the settling in, meaning still putting miscellaneous things away and trying to find its proper homes and stuff like that, is still taking place. We have delays on deliveries. We have, who's communicating to me? Um, we have delays on deliveries and all that kind of stuff. My theory is as long as we are good and settled in by Christmas, that would be fantastic. Maybe
Yeah.
Halloween. That way we'll be able to celebrate the holidays, the first holiday outside of the summer for our new home.
Yeah, you're doing the right thing though, and just doing it a little at a time rather than giving yourself a lot of unrealistic expectations. And a
Yeah.
move's a big thing. Plus, in your new space, there's ways you want to arrange it and make it different and embrace the space you have. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So we are live. I do things a little bit different from you, and I have to say to everyone, you have an amazing podcast that I was a guest. I had the honors and pleasure of being a guest on, and I love the way you do things. I do things slightly different. As soon as we log in, we go live because I enjoy the first initiative engagement and I want people to see that and stuff. The way we interview is allows the viewers to see your authentic self and to be able to see the parts of our expert interviews like yourself, Lauren, all the parts that we love and adore you by.
I
So
love
they
that.
get to see your true personality. So I want to kick off by, I'm going to go back on certain topics we've been touching on, but I want to kick off by having you talk about what it is that you do. You do something, by the way. I always ask a question, then almost answer it for people. But who says I was an expert at this? I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to feature you guys. This is not my career. You do something that I find very interesting. You give people an opportunity to talk about their worst bosses. And it's a safe place and space to be in with you when we share our horror stories that I would like to think for everyone leads into the blessings that they've endured because in order to get to where we at today, we've had to have some bad moments. And those bosses help push us in these directions.
Exactly. Exactly. Everyone is an opportunity to like learn from it and maybe have a few laughs and maybe learn what not to do. It is a safe place. And I started just because I've had every job you could ever imagine throughout my career. And I've had some really horrible bosses and horror stories. And I just started connecting with people and realizing everyone has a bad boss story.
Mhm.
Everyone has one. And sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're tragic, sometimes they're sad, but they're always, always, always learning opportunities.
Yeah.
And when I started it, I had no idea that pretty much every conversation transitions into what they've learned and what they've gotten to learn about themselves, but also that boss. Because I find that a lot of people make excuses for the bad boss of, well, I see they behaved that way because how they were pressured, or I see they were really lacking this in their lives. And it's like, wow, people are very, very compassionate and want to give someone that space to be a bad boss, but it's a lot of
or cynical, because I had a friend of mine when I was in the corporate world, he would justify certain bad bosses' behavior by saying, oh, he acts that way because he doesn't have a voice at home. I said, what?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My horrible boss was just miserable at life. Like just
Really?
miserable. Oh yeah. I mean, I talk about her in the first episode,
Uh-huh.
and it's not entirely long, that episode, because I think I could have went on a lot longer. She
I'm
was just
sure.
awful human being and just
Wow.
really disrespected me, and was, now that I can see it now that I'm older, was just straight up like threatened by what I could do and the energy I brought. And she was very like, I'm the queen of the castle, and it just wasn't gonna fly. So right away we started having some
Clashing.
confrontations. Yeah. And I was very young in my career, so I wasn't very assertive, and it took a lot to get me to that point. And I said to her one day, you will not speak to me that way again. That is unacceptable.
Wow,
And
good
I do
for
not
you.
deserve that. Yeah, it really made her like physically come back a little, but it needed to be done. And I feel like that was a real turning point for me personally and professionally, to kind of stand in that space of, this is going to be awkward, but it needs to be said.
So I'm curious to see or find out, how did things move forward with you after that? Did she back off and realize that she was wrong and treated you differently, or did she continue to come gunning for you and it's like, all right, I'm going to destroy you?
No, she treated me differently. There was
Good.
definitely a new level of respect, but I didn't stay long because I wasn't empowered as an employee, and I wasn't given the opportunity to really shine and do better. And all the praise and appreciation came from the next layer up. So there
Right.
was something there. So yeah, I usually find that people don't last long under a horrible boss. Those that do can really just endure it and might have others that they can lean on. But for the most part, most people don't make it more than a year under a horrible boss.
I consider those type of people shelled, meaning they're in a shell and they are used to their, what do you want to call it, systematic people. They are going to stay there whether they're happy or not. They come in, start their day off at 9, it ends at 5. They get their paycheck on Friday, and they go back and they do it all over again on Monday. You know, those are systematic people where they don't want to ruffle any feathers. They're not going to stand up for their rights. They're not going to defend right and fight against wrong or anything like that. Those are people that's just going to stay under the radar and let me just live my life until retirement type of thing. But nowadays, you got people who are believing in their rights, whatever that may be, and want to be heard and stuff. It's just a different beast. Well, I put it this way: it's interesting, the dynamics of so many different personalities and how some people handle certain things.
Yes, exactly. And I think too, now with different generations in the workforce, they're not going to put up with that anymore because they know they can go somewhere else. I think in prior generations, there was such a sense of loyalty to a point of fault or abuse where they would just say, well, this is just how it has to be because I'm staying here. And now it's like, I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah.
No. I
Let
can
me ask,
freelance, I can get a side gig, I can do something
I
else.
can
And
do
it's just,
anything. Yeah.
yeah, it's a different mindset. I like it, but it's also what I help my clients see is like, hey, be mindful that like you're not the only one out there. Like
Yeah.
employees will leave. You can't treat them like that. Yeah.
Let me ask you an interesting question. With that being said, I had an interview earlier today, a couple of hours before you, and that person specialized in the hospitality industry and the educational part of it. where people go to get certified or training or whatever the case may be, or come back and freshen up on their skills with customer service in the hospitality space. And we slightly touched on how employees are thinking in today's world. So I've heard this term for the first time, believe it or not. And I know with our youth today, or our young adults today, they're labeled as snowflakes. Now, when I hear flakes, I think of people that are wishy-washy, but I was told that it means they're ultra sensitive. They're a snowflake. What was told to me was a snowflake is a perfect little object that falls from the sky. And then when it hits the surface of whatever, they melt because they're so delicate and stuff. And that was the reference to our young people today. How do you coach your clients about today's generation for employment, and treading that we want to call it treading lightly on the fact that maybe some of these employees that fit that category are just being ultra sensitive?
Yeah, I do deal with that a lot with my clients, and I've never heard the term snowflake. That's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, I gave you something for the first time.
You did. I'm like, I've never heard this. So that is new to me. One thing I do with them, well, there's a couple things. We really talk about understanding each generation in their workforce and really getting a chance to do that through reverse mentoring. So the newer generation actually mentors the others in the office to kind of help them understand the way they think and the way they do things. And they're so technologically advanced, and why their first instinct is to grab their phone and find the answer, why they can do a lot of things at once really quickly. And so it really helps because it breaks down that barrier and lets the other person see, oh, so you're not just being a pain in my butt, like you really need to know this, like you're just inquisitive. Or a lot of times I've actually went to a couple panels where it's like millennial panels, and they talk about like the myths and busting the myths, like what we're not lazy, we just find the best quickest way to do something because that's how we grew up, that's how we learn. And one of the things they said that was really interesting is in a reverse mentoring relationship, it's really easy to show that person and break down those myths of this is what you think I am, but this is what I am. So to that point of like them being a snowflake or being so sensitive, there are things that they are highly aware of and more sensitive than the other generations have vocalized. It doesn't mean the other generations didn't care about these things, but it wasn't as much of a spotlight on social responsibility and equality as there is now, that they're not going to make space for you to say, well, we don't mess with that. That's not our stance. We can't go. They're not going to have that. It's going to need to be addressed. So I think if that's viewed as sensitive, you have to help coach people that understand the why. There's a reason behind that. And the younger generations want to work for a purpose and a mission and a vision. They also want to make money, right? So a big myth is, oh, they just care more about the purpose than the money. That's not true. Nobody works for free. So you want to be careful of that too, but you want to help them understand that, hey, there's probably a reason why they're so passionate about this, and maybe they could head up your social responsibility committee. Maybe they could be in a place of empowerment and leadership. And I don't think you have to be frightened by that. I think you have to make more room at the table. I heard something the other day I was reading where it said a lot of times you go to events and people stand in a circle, right? They're talking in a circle. And it would be really cool if society started standing in a horseshoe so we could make room for others to come in. When you stand in a circle, it's closed, but why not more of a horseshoe shape where more people can come in? I think that's what employers need to do at the table, is make some room for various generations and people that are different to really come and give perspective and give voice. And that's what I encourage my clients to do, especially when they say things like they're just being sensitive or here we go again. It's like, yes, you have a business to run. They get that too, but this is an important piece we're going to cover.
Right. I appreciate that. That's really smart. That's really, really smart to look at it that way, and to also help all the generations to understand one another and stuff. And again, my last guest was stating communication. She stated that her class consists of students anywhere from 18 to 64 years old. And some of them have more similarities to each other than one would think or expect them to have. It's all about perspective, and it's all about the lack of knowing. And most importantly, it's all about communication, understanding one another, understanding people. And sometimes you have to be taught to communicate the proper way because everyone's background is different. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. What was your breaking point? Because you did say in the beginning that you've had plenty of bad bosses, which I find it hard to believe because you're just too lovable. But what was your breaking point to get to where you're at today? And let's talk about that podcast too.
Yeah, absolutely. So the breaking point for me, as you know, Gracie, I have small children, I have a family, and as a working mom boss, you're kind of always in that zone of like, which do I juggle today? And there's never a balance. It's just kind of a shift between one thing to another. And I had just had enough. I was traveling a lot. I was working a lot at a corporate tech startup, lots of fast moving parts and really high demand. And I would just have nothing left for those that are closest and nearest to my heart. And it was becoming really visible. My daughter would make comments, and she's young, and she would just say things like, "You're always grumpy when you're here," and that's not me at all. And that's not the life I want for her or for us. And so I just really sat back and was like, what do I want to do? I need to do something else. And I have this epiphany of, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I started thinking of all the jobs I ever had, which goes on and on and on and on and on. And I thought of like the time I was happiest in my career, and I realized it was in like the small business sector. And when I was working for really small, like family owned businesses, or just things that had like this small, close knit community. I'm a really social person. I need a sense of community. I need people. And so that's why I decided to start my business and really work with this small business community and be my own boss, which is really awesome. I highly recommend that to anyone, because then you can't have a horrible boss because you're the boss. And I love
Unless you don't like yourself.
Unless you don't like that. There's times I'm like, all right, I have to give myself a review, like kick myself in the butt. You really sucked off. But it gave me more time with my family, and it gave me that sense of balance. It's always trying to find it, but creating that space where I could have that and really be there for them and show up for them in a big way, which is huge to me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, family is very, very important, and it's not easy. You know, as women, we are the master of juggling and multitasking, but we're also human. And what makes us superwoman is the fact that we seem to figure out ways to make it all happen. Now, I don't have children, but I have my family, my husband, I have a cat and a dog, and they're codependent, very codependent. They're up your ass all the time, so to speak, you know? And I'm not one of those type of people who look at her pets as her children and you know, like that, but they are a part of my family. I give you kudos because starting your own business is a brave step to make. Not everybody is cut out for it. I believe everybody has their purpose in this world that we live in. And there are people that are meant to be leaders. There are people that are meant to be head of major corporations, build empires. Some of them are meant to keep it small and simple, and you're in between. And then there are people that are meant to be employed, you know, and be the worker bees because they don't need or want or desire that great responsibility. Not every boss and business owner have to have sleepless nights, but the burden do fall on your shoulders more when you are that main leader. And then to do all of that and walk away from your independence of a secure job and then take care of your children and juggle your responsibility and your household. You know how they have these rich people and they point out their internal staff. Oh, this is my babysitter. This is my house manager. What's a house manager? And I found out later on a house
I don't know
manager
any of
is
them
the
people.
person who handles the house. She's the lady of the house, but she hired this other lady to run it. Not a maid, not a cleaning crew, a house manager. And I'm like, what? But that's what we do. We manage our home, we manage our family, and it's a lot of work and
It
it's
is.
nonstop.
I
So,
will say that, yeah, I will say that I could have not done this without the support of my partner, my husband. He's been just on from the moment I said I'm done, I'm quitting. He's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, probably just start a business. He was like, go for it. You got this. Go for it. I have
look at
every
that.
faith in you. Everything you've ever done career-wise, you've excelled. Like, just go for it. Do it. I got you. And so he was so supportive, even when it is tough. I mean, it's a grind and it is hard. And there are days you're like, what did I do? And why did I think this was a good idea? And what am I doing? And you have like imposter syndrome 24/7. And you're always like, am I making the right choices here? But he was a constant rock that was like, this is what you do. Like, do it. This is what you do. And when I was like wavering or, oh, I don't know, he's like, you got this. So having that has been like, I don't think I could have done it without him, because I mean, we have 3 kids. He has to take over a lot. He has to, you know, if I've got to travel, he's there, but he's also just a supporter. I was like, 11 o'clock recording the podcast. What are you doing? I'm launching a podcast. That is so cool. I can't wait to hear it. Like, he's very, very supportive. And I think behind any really successful woman, there's a person, whether that be a man or a woman or someone else entirely, there's a person who lights your fire, because
absolutely.
this takes a lot. Like, I'm a lot, and I acknowledge that fully. Like, I am just a lot. I am a ball of energy, a ball of emotion. I go 500 miles an hour and then I just crash. And so he learns how to deal with all those pieces of me, which is a real blessing.
So that's unconditional love, 100%. And you struck gold, my girlfriend. You struck gold when you found your husband. I mean, not to say I haven't struck gold. You're just one of those few people who struck gold too.
Yes.
That's for sure. You truly struck gold by having a partner like your husband support you, believe in you, encourage you, be your number one fan and cheerleader.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, I mean, that means a lot. You definitely need that in your corner. I mean, you're right. Starting a business is a big leap, but having that makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. So let me see how we're doing on time. Oh, we're coming to a close end. So I normally ask a couple of fun fact questions. It's a good way for people to get to know you a little bit more on a personal level and stuff. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about the type of clients that you work with. How do you get your clients? Because I think this would be interesting for people to know.
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate that all my clients come from my network and my referrals and people that I know and that know me and know my character. It's never about the what I do, it's more about who I am. And then I'll get in and be like, oh yeah, I can help you. But it's more about, you should meet each other, and oh yeah, she may be able to help you too. So what I do is I work with small businesses, usually under like 200 employees, any industry, any revenue, and really help them through the evolution of their business, change management or leadership structure or organizational design. As a business evolves and grows, there's always an element where people aren't certain about that, or they feel uncertain. And I am all about the employee experience. And whether you are implementing really something small that you think people should be excited about, like a 4-day work week, there's still some hesitation and nerves and energy and excitement, but you need to learn how to properly communicate and execute on that. So I come in and I help them think through those questions. But I'm very fortunate that like 99% of my clients are through referrals and through people I know and that know who I am and the high level of integrity with which I work and serve my clients.
That's awesome. So what would you say you fall into? Do you fall into like the HR category of services for your clients?
I'm more of an agent for change. So while I have an HR background and I can bring the HR stuff,
Right.
that's not really what you want to tap me for. The most beneficial piece would be the employee experience and
Wow.
overall retention of your employees and really helping you through that next stage of your business as it grows or even as it stays the same, but some processes have to change or programs have to change. Or maybe you just want to have something done in a more consistent fashion, whether that be onboarding or performance, but all wrapped into your culture and why people choose to work there and making sure we're highlighting what's great about the culture.
I love it. I absolutely love it because as I have been one of those people that shared her bad boss memories with you,
Yes.
I had stated, I think, in my interview, that I said to you, well, let's face it, HR looks out for the company. And sometimes that protection of the company includes the protection of those bad managers. And that's just how I felt because of
Mhm.
all that I've endured. But I like the idea of being able to tap into a source like you to take care of your employees. You know, any boss who has good intentions and making sure that the morale in their company with their employees is high and healthy would want to utilize you. And I think that's a brilliant idea.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
And you know, because you like you said, we spoke earlier about different perspectives. You got some people who are comfortable with, they're very systematic and they're comfortable with the routine, 9 to 5, collect my check on Friday, come back to work on Monday, do it all over again. And you got some people who are more ambitious, but just a little dose of it. And then you got those that are crazy ambitious and comes across as a threat to their managers. And
Yeah.
managers don't need to. So knowing that there's someone like yourself out there that can clearly help an employer, a manager, a company, however you want to look at it, come in there and communicate things in a way that is more accepted and
Mhm.
digested better by the employees. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Thank you. I was on the phone yesterday with a client and he gets on and they're family owned business. He goes, listen, we're not all corporate and I don't know what, how you approach things. And I let him go for a while. And then I said,
Right,
yeah, 99% of my clients are like your business and I'm not corporate either. I'm the last person to write a really stiff email or send a communication that's not inclusive and brings some energy and positivity to what's going on. So it's just really interesting that people view it that way. When you come in as a consultant, you're automatically labeled as like you're corporate or you're gonna.
right.
I'm like, no, I am the biggest not HR person. Like I break the rules. I'm not very compliancy. Like you don't want me in there for HR necessarily. It's the other things. So yeah. But
It gives the employees or the staff a little bit of a safety space, or I was going to say safety net, but more of a safe space is what I should say, to feel like, okay, maybe my boss is really looking out for my best interest because they hire her
mhm.
to help us through this transition. Oh, that's just fabulous. I love it. Okay, so let's get some fun questions. So I
Okay.
keep bouncing around in my chair because I got this new chair and for some reason it leans forward. So pay me no mind.
I will. Okay, you're good.
Right. Now, with all that's been said about how hard you work and stuff, what is your go-to leisure? What is it that gives you that relaxed mindset type of feeling?
Absolutely 100% retail therapy.
You're my kind of girl.
Absolutely. Shopping is my jam. If my husband can't find me for a few hours, he knows what I'm doing and where I'm at and gives
Uh-huh.
me that space. So it is absolutely that. For better or for worse, I am a big fan of shopping.
So online shopping or in-person shopping?
I really like both a lot. I mean, obviously now it's a little more online,
Yeah.
but I love just having a day to me to go to all the shops. I'm a big like buy local person, so
Ooh.
not real like chain stores, but just shops around our area and finding like treasures and things that
Ooh.
I'm like, this is so unique or eclectic. So yeah, I that's definitely how I have me time.
You are a true shopper if you're looking for things that stand out. Now, is it clothes, house stuff, or combination?
It's mostly things for me, clothes, accessories, shoes. I'm a big accessory fan. Um yeah, I wouldn't say it's too much on the home front, but definitely all the things that make this fabulous.
I love it. I'm going to give you a virtual high five. And and I'm going to end off with our chit chat with an applause. But this is the virtual applause. I just learned this from my last interview. She says this is a way of applauding. I said, really? But I add this part myself. But she says this is how you're applauding.
That is great. I love that. I love
This
that.
is how you applaud. I said, get out. And she says, yes. And then I decided to add a little bit of Gracie, a little bit of spice.
I love it, Gracie. Oh, talking to you is such a joy every single time. It can
Oh,
be
my
the craziest day, and I'm like, I get to talk to Gracie. Like, it
Oh,
totally
that's
makes my day.
awesome. I love it, love it, love it. Listen, I would love to have you back if you will. There's so much more that we can talk about, but I try to keep the videos nice, short, and sweet. And sit tight. Don't go anywhere, okay? Let me just wrap up things for us. Thank you,
Sure.
guys. We had an amazing time with Lauren, and we're looking forward to having her back real soon.